the New York City Marathon, the world's largest marathon, running 42.2 kilometers through the 5 boroughs, and finishing in the most iconic park in the world, Central Park. How did an amateur runner from New Zealand get the opportunity to run the New York City Marathon? Let's break it down. Now, they say that luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and I was damn lucky to get this opportunity to go and run the New York City Marathon. Preparation, how did this come about? At the start of 2023, I set out with a pretty arbitrary goal of gaining 10,000 followers on TikTok, and I wanted to share my running journey and be creative on the platform and bring something new to the platform than this typical user-generated content that you would typically see. And so I decided that from January 1st, for as long as possible, I was going to post on TikTok every single day. And that basically lasted all the way until about May, when I really started to increase the quality of the content, which meant that I had to decrease the quantity that I was putting out. But in the middle of a family trip last year, this happened.
More than 100 million Americans are this morning under an air quality alert from fires burning in neighbouring Canada.
Take a look at this live shot right now of New York's skyline. It's hazy as the thick smoke covering...
Okay, we're in New York City. It's Wednesday, the 7th of June, which is Global Running Day. And outside, the air quality is 184 because we have all of the smoke coming down from the Canadian fires into the city. So we just happened to be in New York City when the smoke from the Canadian wildfires was heading south. And on one particular day, the air pollution was so bad, it was the worst in the world. And on that day, we decided to stay inside. The next day just happened to be Global Running Day, and so I spent that 7 or 8 hours inside that day creating a video, sort of capturing my story with running, my love letter to running, and putting that piece out the next day for Global Running Day. I'll leave a link to that video below so you can watch it if you want. So in about the middle of August, I was on a video shoot with my business partner, Tyler. And earlier that day, I received a message from the marketing manager from New Balance New Zealand. And she said, can we catch up at some stage today on a call? I want to talk about an opportunity that I have for you. And so obviously I got that message and I was so excited. I wanted to know immediately what it was. So sat in this car in this exact position, I rang her, and as soon as the phone started calling, I turned to Tyler and I said, they're going to send me to New York to run the marathon. And I don't know what came over me in that moment that made me say that. It was just like an internal thought, something that I wanted it to happen. And so I put it out to the universe, and lo and behold, she asked me if I wanted to go and run the New York City Marathon with New Balance. One thing I forgot to mention, the reason how New Balance found me is they saw that video I made in New York during that super smoky day, the video about Global Running Day and my love letter to running. So when it came to training for the New York City Marathon, the day that I found out I was sick as a dog, I'd been sick for probably the 2 weeks prior, and so I wasn't really running at all. I wasn't doing any gym work, so I was sort of starting from a pretty neutral position of training. I just started working with my coach, Andy Good, who I've obviously now been working with for over a year, and at the time the plan was to run a half marathon in October, I think. And so there was definitely a switch from training for a half marathon to obviously training for the New York City Marathon, which is known for being one of the harder major courses. We had pretty limited time to train. I think it was about 7 or 8 weeks, like not ideal for a full marathon training block. I feel even worse for my Aussie friends who ran with me. They had even less time, I reckon 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. And so the approach was just get in good enough mileage, that, you know, I'll be able to get through a marathon, but not try and do too much where I show up injured or get injured along the way. I think we maxed out at like 70 Ks for the biggest week. And the only other thing that changed throughout that was I was probably doing hill work once a week, and then I would do the occasional long run in the hills just to sort of simulate what we might get in New York City. As you can imagine, it's a pretty full-on experience traveling across the globe to run a marathon. So I wanted to give myself as much time as possible to acclimatize to the time difference and get rid of any jet lag. So I arrived on a Tuesday, where my Aussie friends arrived on a Thursday, and so that gave me a few extra days to just get rid of any jet lag and sort of try and get as used to the time zone as possible. My parents were actually in town to watch me run the marathon, which I'm very grateful for. So that Tuesday, Wednesday, I basically spent the majority of my time hanging out with them and sleeping, to be honest. So on that Thursday, the week of the marathon, I switched hotels and linked up with all of the New Balance crew.
City Marathon, I'm here. It's Nemo reporting in live. Mack, you do this all the time. Crazy content king.
Alright, so we just finished up the piece with Tempo Journal. There's a couple of us here. We're going to go get some food from Whole Foods. So I think everyone from the APAC region was staying in this hotel. And obviously my Aussie friends, Nima, Soph, Sam and Lachey were all there as well. Thursday, visited the expo, picked up our bib, which I'll show you. As you can see here on the bib, this grey New Balance logo means that we were there running the marathon with New Balance. They picked up our bib, visited the expo, did all that stuff. I bought like $450 worth of New Balance merch. On the Friday, there was a New Balance panel which we had to attend, and a party. A few runners on the panel. One of the key figures was Chito Vera. He's a UFC fighter, and he was also a big part of the Run Your Weight campaign last year. Party closed out with Action Bronson playing a few songs, which was pretty epic. And then finally on Saturday morning, we did a shakeout run with Tim Rossi from Lost Boys Track Club, and then we had to do some filming for Tempo Journal as part of a wider piece covering our marathon experience.
How has this week and this experience with New Balance been so far? What have you seen? What have you enjoyed most?
I think like my biggest takeaway from the week has been like how running can bring people together. Every interaction I've had, every conversation I've had with people is just like the running community is so welcoming, and I'm just very grateful to be a part of this whole thing. The marathon race day itself. Now, the New York City Marathon is like nothing I've ever experienced before. The buzz throughout the city in the lead up to the marathon and the buzz on the course is unbelievable. About 2 million people come out to watch the New York City Marathon every single year. So the streets are completely lined, the course is completely lined. It is what I would describe as utter chaos. But on the morning of the race, we were lucky enough to get a VIP bus from our hotel all the way over to the start line in Staten Island via the Verrazano Bridge, which was pretty epic to know that in, it was like an hour and a half's time, we were going to be running over that bridge to start the New York City Marathon. Being that we were there with New Balance, we also had the privilege of a VIP tent, which basically meant that there was food, they had their own toilets, things like Gatorade, water, places to charge your phone, obviously a place to sit. It definitely made the morning of the marathon a much better experience. Some of you know, I didn't run my greatest, and if I was to run it again this year, I would do a lot of things differently. So one of my friends, she is heading over this year with New Balance for the same experience that I had last year. And I took the liberty of writing down some notes for her about the course, which I think will be of use to you. So this is a time-lapse video of the New York City Marathon. And I actually watched this after the race which wasn't ideal. So if you're running this weekend, have a look at this. It's pretty interesting because it shows just how undulating the course actually is. A lot of the times I felt that I was running, on the flat, but really you were running on a slight incline. So let's break down some of these notes. Number one, you will most likely lose GPS on the Verrazano. So the Verrazano is the bridge you start the marathon on. They run both above and below the Verrazano, and I ran below the Verrazano, lost GPS, so my watch was telling me I was running really slow until I hit the first mile marker and then realized that I was actually running on pace. So that's something to keep in mind. Verrazano Bridge in total is 4,176 meters. I'm just looking at this on Google. But I reckon you only run on it for maybe about 3K. I remember definitely splitting 1.6 miles about halfway over the bridge. So you are probably running up the bridge for at least a mile. So I've just written here, run the bridge to effort, don't get caught up in everyone else around you. It's about a mile of uphill. So keep that in mind. At about 2 miles, the people who are running over and under the bridge merge. So it does get pretty hectic as you have heaps of runners coming together at that one point. There's a decent climb at the half marathon point going over the bridge into Queens. Mile 15, you'll hit the Queensborough Bridge, and this is where you will get your first piece of peace and quiet for the entire marathon. It's about 1 kilometer's worth of climbing over the Queensborough Bridge, and in total it's about 1.6 to 2 miles. Mile 19 and 21, you have another couple small bridges to navigate. The last thing I've written down here is that the run up 5th Ave is basically all uphill. Finish in Central Park. The finishing chute that you run through, there's flags which line all the way along the finishing chute. Luckily enough, I was able to spot my parents as I was struggling with cramp in both of my legs. But the New York City Marathon is seriously like nothing I've ever done and you will ever do before. It is truly an experience. Oh, bro, there's like, I may as well retire from running marathons at this point, do you know what I mean? There's like, I don't think there's anything in the world that's going to compare to this. So the last thing to keep in mind is that when you finish, you do have to walk basically from, I guess, the center point of Central Park all the way down to Columbus Circle to get on a train or to see your family, anything like that. So there's definitely going to be a bit of walking involved. It's quite a funny experience because it's just all of these people draped in orange like cloak kind of things, walking towards Columbus Circle. It sort of looks like a scene out of like The Walking Dead or The Last of Us. I guess with that, my experience of the New York City Marathon was pretty positive, apart from not necessarily running the time that I wanted to run. I think the one piece of advice that I would give to anyone running it would be that you should take it all in. I think there was times throughout the marathon where I was too focused on the running and my pace and trying to hit my goal that I didn't actually take in what was the experience of the marathon. Around you, there's so many people around you cheering you on, making noise. There's all these fun signs and things like that. And that's not something that I personally took in enough. So that, in a nutshell, is my New York City Marathon experience. Best of luck to everyone running this weekend. Run smart, run fast, run free, and have fun out there. I'll see you in the next video. MTV, welcome to my room. Come in.